I'm Jennifer Miller, 32 years old, and I'll never forget the sting of that Chicago barbecue where my family left me apart. My father's voice boomed across the backyard. When will you ever be as successful as your sister? My mother chimed in her words, sharp, you're embarrassing her with your failures. My aunt piled on, stop leeching off us, get a real job, and my sister, the golden child, just smirked and said, you'll never be like me. Their laughter burned into my soul. I didn't cry or argue. I walked out my steps heavy with rage. They thought they knew her, thought she was thriving, perfect, untouchable. They had no clue. 1 week later, my mother's voice cracked over the phone begging, please lend your sister $3,000, she's in trouble. I paused, heart pounding, and asked one question, successful people also borrow money. Her silence was deafening. I'd been holding a secret, one they'd never see coming, and it was about to unravel everything. Before I get to my story, I'd like to know what time and what city you're listening in. I'd love to know how far my story has spread. That barbecue changed everything. From the day she was born, she had that charm that won everyone over. Adults fawned over her stories at family gatherings while I faded into the background, more comfortable with sketchbooks than small talk. My father measured success in dollars and promotions, always praising her potential. My mother played peacemaker, smoothing over his criticisms of me. Even my aunt seemed to favor her, calling her the family pride. The favoritism was blatant. When I brought home art awards, they'd focus on my B in math. Amanda's average grades, they'd call them promising. It stung, but I channeled it into design. By high school, I was creating digital graphics for local businesses, earning pocket money. They called it a hobby. College was the same. Amanda got scholarships through family connections while I worked part-time to pay for state university. I graduated with a degree in graphic design, $20,000 in debt, and started freelancing. Evenings were for my passion project DesignFlow, an app for custom home decor designs. I kept it secret, building it in my tiny apartment. 2 years after graduation, I launched it with a small team. We secured clients, moved to a real office, and it started generating $4,000 a month. But at family events, my achievements were ignored while Amanda's supposed marketing career took center stage. What they didn't know was that Amanda had been fired months earlier. She confided in me during a late-night call, swearing me to secrecy and asking for a temporary loan to cover rent. Being the sister who always looked out for her, I agreed, sending her $2,800. That temporary help became monthly as Amanda kept finding excuses. Job fell through, car repairs, roommate issues. I documented every transfer using my freelance investigator skills to track her public profiles. As a side gig, I helped small businesses with financial audits, giving me tools to dig without crossing lines. I searched her Instagram and LinkedIn posts, designer clothes, luxury dinners that didn't match her claimed salary. Mutual friends mentioned her between job status. The discrepancies piled up. She was unemployed for 8 months, living off credit cards and my support. Her patterns were clear: impulsive spending, avoidance of responsibility triggered by family pressure to appear perfect. I analyzed it all, building a file of screenshots and statements. Amanda became dependent on my generosity, calling more frequently for help, unaware I was observing her every move. She texted one night, thanks for the latest transfer, you're a lifesaver. I replied neutrally, but inside the web was tightening. My own success with DesignFlow grew. I received an offer to sell for $2.8 million, but I delayed, focusing on her unraveling. The dependency trap was set, and she was walking right into it. Amanda's lies kept growing. For 6 months, I sent her $2,800 every month, each transfer documented with a legal IOU. She didn't know I was building a case, watching her spiral. Her Instagram was a parade of excess designer bags, rooftop brunches, a weekend trip to Miami, all posted with captions about her self-made life. She even bought my parents gifts: a sleek watch for my father, a leather purse for my mother, claiming she paid for them with her marketing salary. I knew better. Those gifts came from my money, carefully disguised as her own success. I'd found a cheap watch online for $50 and a knockoff purse for $30, suggesting she gift them to keep up appearances. She did, passing them off as luxury. My parents beamed at family gatherings, bragging to neighbors about their successful daughter. They'd say she was closing big deals while my freelance design work was dismissed as a side gig. It hurt, but I stayed silent, letting their pride in her grow. Amanda's post went viral in our small Chicago community. Friends shared her photos, calling her an inspiration. Meanwhile, I tracked her spending $22,000 of my money over 6 months, plus credit card debts piling up. I could have helped her find a job, connected her with design firms or marketing contacts, but I didn't. She needed to face reality, not lean on me forever. My own company, DesignFlow, was thriving. We'd landed major clients and an investor offered $2.8 million to buy us out. I held off, focused on Amanda's unraveling. Her lies were fueled by pressure to maintain her perfect image, especially after mutual friends started asking why she hadn't posted about work lately. I fed that pressure, casually mentioning at a cousin's birthday how everyone admired her career. She doubled down, claiming a promotion to senior marketing manager, boasting an $8,000 monthly salary on LinkedIn. I screenshotted it, adding to my file. Her desperation was clear in her texts. Need another transfer, client meeting next week, big opportunity, she'd write. I sent the money each time with a polite note. Happy to help, just keep me posted. She didn't suspect I was analyzing her every move. My freelance investigator work gave me insight into her patterns: impulsive purchases when stressed, dodging job applications to avoid failure. She'd call late at night, voice shaky, promising to pay me back once things stabilize. I nodded along, but my patience was thinning. My parents kept praising her at every barbecue, oblivious to the truth. My aunt even told a neighbor she wished I could learn from her drive. The irony burned. I wasn't just enabling her lifestyle, I was setting a trap. Amanda was digging her own hole, and I was handing her the shovel. My file grew thicker: bank statements, screenshots of her post texts where she lied about meetings. I knew the day was coming when her facade would crumble and I'd be ready. Amanda's mask was slipping. Her lies about being a top marketing manager had spiraled out of control, and I watched her scramble to keep up the facade. She updated her LinkedIn with a fake promotion, claiming an $8,000 monthly salary complete with a shiny new title, Senior Marketing Director. Her posts boasted about closing major deals with brands I knew didn't exist. Friends shared her updates, feeding her ego while she sank deeper into debt. She'd borrowed from banks, racking up $25,000 on credit cards, and even hit up old college buddies for quick loans, promising to pay them back after her next bonus. I saw the panic in her texts: big meeting coming up, need to look the part, can you send another $2,800? I replied calmly, sure, but I'll need that $22,000 back soon to expand DesignFlow. Her response was a vague promise. Totally, I'll pay you after Christmas when my bonus hits. I knew there was no bonus. Her desperation grew as our parents kept praising her at every chance. My father bragged to his golf buddies about her skyrocketing career, while my mother told neighbors she was set for life. My aunt chimed in, sharing Amanda's posts at her bank's coffee chats, calling her the family's shining star. The pressure to maintain that image was crushing her, and I leaned into it. During a cousin's dinner, I casually mentioned how her success inspired everyone, knowing it'd push her to lie more. She did, claiming a new client contract worth 6 figures. I screenshotted it, adding to my growing file. My silence fueled her confidence. She thought I was clueless, still the useless sister they mocked. Thanksgiving was approaching, a big family gathering with a few relatives joining us. I knew it was the perfect stage. Amanda's lies were at their peak and her excuses were running thin. She texted me again, voice shaking, in a late-night voicemail. I'm so close to landing this huge deal. Just need one more transfer to tide me over. I sent the money, but this time I added a condition. I need it back in 2 weeks, or I'll have to tell Mom and Dad. Her reply was frantic. No, don't. I'll get it to you, I swear. I could hear the cracks in her voice. She was drowning, and I held the rope. I spent the days before Thanksgiving compiling my evidence: bank statements showing every transfer, screenshots of her fake LinkedIn posts, texts where she begged for money, and public Instagram photos of her lavish spending. My parents invited 5 relatives to our house, expecting another chance to show off their golden child. Amanda planned to dazzle them with stories of her latest bonus, claiming it'd clear all her debts. I stayed quiet, playing the supportive sister, nodding as she rehearsed her lies over coffee. My father even said she's outshining everyone in this family. My mother smiled proudly while my aunt nodded along. They had no idea what was coming. I wasn't just preparing to call her out, I was setting the stage for her entire world to collapse. Thanksgiving dinner was my breaking point. The dining room glowed with my mother's best china, 5 relatives seated around the table, their voices blending with the clink of silverware in our Chicago home. My father carved the turkey, his face alight as he boasted about my sister's latest marketing triumph. My mother passed the cranberry sauce, smiling proudly, while my aunt raved about her niece's 6-figure deal. Amanda basked in the praise, her confidence unshaken, her lies honed to a fine edge. I sat quietly, my evidence file hidden in my bag, my pulse racing with resolve. As the pumpkin pie hit the table, I stood, my voice calm but firm. I have something to share about my sister's success, I said, meeting her gaze. Her eyes narrowed, a flicker of unease crossing her face. I started with the bank statements. For 10 months she's been unemployed, living off my money, $2,800 a month, $22,000 total. I slid the printed transfers across the table, each one stamped with dates. My father's hand froze, his knife hovering over the turkey. My mother's breath caught her fork clattering to her plate. My aunt snapped, "That's ridiculous, Jennifer." Amanda's face paled, but I pressed on. I opened my phone, pulling up our family group chat. "Here's her LinkedIn claiming a senior marketing director role that doesn't exist," I said, sending screenshots of her fabricated posts. "And these Instagram photos, designer bags, Miami trips, all funded by my transfers, and her $25,000 credit card debt." I shared statements showing her maxed out cards, the numbers glaring in black and white. Amanda stammered, "You're lying. I was just between jobs." Her voice shook, her hands gripping the table. I didn't flinch. "The watch you gave Dad, the purse for Mom, I bought them for $50 and $30 online, not the luxury you claimed." My mother clutched her purse, eyes welling up. My father's face hardened, turning to Amanda. "Explain this," he demanded, his tone sharp. She scrambled. "I was going to pay her back. I swear big deals are coming," but the evidence was ironclad. I sent another screenshot to the group chat text where she begged for money, promising non-existent contracts. A cousin gasped. She said she was promoted last month. Another relative shook her head, stunned. My aunt jumped in, her voice defensive. "She's struggling, Jennifer. Why humiliate her like this?" I ignored her, my focus unwavering. "You all believed her lies while dismissing me," I said, voice steady. "You called me useless, but I sold DesignFlow for $2.8 million. I'm moving to San Francisco to build something bigger." The room went dead silent. My father's jaw dropped, my mother's hands trembled, and Amanda's head sank, her facade shattered. Relatives exchanged shocked glances, one muttering, "How did we miss this?" My aunt tried again. "This is a misunderstanding," but her words fell flat. The group chat buzzed with notifications, each message a nail in Amanda's coffin. Amanda's voice broke through, shrill and desperate. "You planned this, Jennifer. You never supported me." I met her eyes, unflinching. "You built this lie, not me. I just showed the truth." My mother reached for me. "Jennifer, please, let's talk." But I stepped back. My father's silence was deafening, his pride in tatters. I walked to the door, leaving the table frozen, the weight of reality settling in. Amanda's sob echoed behind me, but I didn't turn back. The relatives' whispers followed, shock, disbelief, betrayal. I'd exposed her not just to our family, but to the truth they couldn't ignore. The fallout was inevitable, and I was ready to move on, leaving their illusions behind. The fallout started immediately. Amanda's carefully constructed life fell apart in the weeks after that Thanksgiving revelation. Without my $2,800 monthly transfers, her $25,000 credit card debt became impossible to ignore. Creditors called nonstop, their demands escalating into legal notices. By mid-December, her landlord issued an eviction notice for unpaid rent, forcing her to pack up her upscale apartment. She arrived at my parents' doorstep with boxes in tow, tears streaming, begging them to take her in. They did, but the spare room felt like a downgrade from her glamorous facade. Her Instagram, once a highlight reel of luxury, went dark as friends unfollowed her in droves. The viral posts she'd cherished now mocked her, with comments turning to ridicule. She tried to delete them, but screenshots from our group chat had already spread among relatives and acquaintances. My father's real estate career suffered the first blow. Clients who'd heard the whispers about his deceptive daughter backed out of listings, costing him 3 major commissions in January alone. His phone rang less, his golf outings with business associates cancelled. He'd always prided himself on his reputation in Chicago's competitive market, but now neighbors gossiped at community events. How did he not know, they'd say. My mother's social circle shrank, her book club meetings awkward as women avoided the topic of her perfect family. She stopped hosting dinners, her confidence shattered by the pitying glances. Their marriage, once stable, cracked under the strain. Late-night arguments about how we failed her echoed through the house. My aunt's bank job took a hit too. Co-workers who'd endured her bragging about her successful niece now distanced themselves, and she was overlooked for a team lead role. Relatives skipped her holiday party, leaving her isolated in her own home. Amanda's professional world collapsed next. Marketing firms in the area blacklisted her after the group chat screenshots circulated on professional networks. Her fake LinkedIn profile was reported, leading to a suspension. She applied for dozens of jobs, but rejections piled up. Hiring managers cited inconsistencies in her resume. By February, she landed a part-time cashier position at a local supermarket, earning minimum wage and struggling with shift work. Debt collectors sued her over unpaid balances, their court papers arriving like clockwork. The stress showed dark circles under her eyes, her once polished appearance replaced by thrift store clothes. She confided in a former friend only to be ghosted. The lawsuits dragged on, forcing her to represent herself in court where judges lectured her on responsibility. Her credit score plummeted to the low 400s, barring her from even basic loans or apartments. The family dynamic shifted irreversibly. My parents tried to mediate, inviting me to a reconciliation lunch in March, but I declined with a brief text, "No thanks." My father's emails grew desperate, praising my Forbes mention as if it could erase years of dismissal. I didn't respond. My mother's voicemails pleaded for one call, her voice breaking, but I let them go to voicemail. My aunt sent a card apologizing for not seeing the full picture, but it felt empty. Relatives took sides, some reaching out to me with admiration, others shunning my parents at gatherings. The scandal rippled through our extended network, turning holiday traditions into tense affairs. Amanda's attempts to rebuild faltered. She started a blog about overcoming setbacks, but it gained no traction, her audience gone. I observed from afar, my own life accelerating. DesignFlow's success opened doors to partnerships, and I hired a team of 20, expanding our app to international markets. Invitations to industry panels came weekly, and a local startup hub profiled me as a rising star. The freedom was intoxicating, no more hiding my achievements to spare their feelings. Yet the destruction wasn't without cost. Late nights I'd scroll through old photos, a twinge of sadness for what could have been. But regret was fleeting. They'd chosen lies over truth, favoritism over fairness. Now they lived with the consequences while I built my empire unburdened. A year after the revelation, I had rebuilt my life. San Francisco's skyline greeted me every morning from my penthouse, its fog rolling over the bay like a fresh start. The $2.8 million sale of DesignFlow funded my new company, now valued at $15 million with clients worldwide. A foundation for underestimated entrepreneurs was my passion project, seeded with $250,000 in donations. Tech conferences invited me as a keynote speaker, my story of rising from family shadows resonating with audiences. A business magazine cover story dubbed me a trailblazer, and podcasts lined up interviews. I traveled to New York for meetings, my schedule packed with venture capitalists eager to invest. The independence was complete, no more monthly transfers, no more secrets. Amanda remained at rock bottom. Her Chapter 7 bankruptcy cleared some debts but left her scarred, her credit a wreck for 7 years. Minimum wage shifts as a diner cashier barely covered basics, her designer wardrobe sold on consignment apps for pennies. Lawsuits from creditors persisted, their judgments forcing wage garnishments that bit into her paychecks. She moved into a cramped studio on the outskirts of Chicago, far from her former glamour. Social isolation hit hard, old friends blocked her, her phone silent except for bill collectors. Attempts to rebuild with a side gig failed, her reputation in marketing circles ruined by the exposed lies. She saw a therapist for anxiety prescriptions, helping but not erasing the shame. A brief online post about starting over drew backlash, comments calling her a fraud. She deleted it, retreating further. My parents' lives unraveled in quiet ways. My father's real estate deals dried up, his client list halved by the scandal's whispers. Retirement savings dipped as he covered Amanda's emergencies, his pride shattered. My mother's health declined under stress, doctor visits for insomnia becoming routine. Their marriage survived, but barely, counseling sessions exposing decades of favoritism. Holidays were tense, the empty chair at the table, a reminder of my absence. My aunt's career stalled, no promotion, her bank colleagues wary after the family drama leaked. She withdrew from gatherings, her once vocal support for Amanda now a source of embarrassment. Relatives divided, some sending me congratulatory cards, others siding with my parents in silence. I received their messages sporadically. My father's emails mixed admiration for my success with pleas for contact. My mother's letters arrived, handwritten, begging for forgiveness. Amanda's texts were sporadic rants accusing me of betrayal. I read them all, then archived them without reply. A single check for $5,000 to my parents was my final gesture, not forgiveness but closure. They'd built their world on illusions, and I refused to rebuild it. The lesson was clear: speak truth early before lies destroy everything. Self-worth isn't in others' approval, but in honest achievement. In my San Francisco office, surrounded by a team of innovators, I reviewed expansion plans to Europe. A news alert popped up about my latest funding round. My phone vibrated, Amanda again, a desperate note. I swiped it away, turning back to my screen, the past fading like the bay's fog. If you've ever risen from family shadows, share your triumph in the comments. Like and subscribe for more stories of breaking free.